Hey Wastelanders, how's it going? Wanderer here. So I finally got around to making my Fallout 4 Horizon beginner's guides. That's what we're going to be going over here, is how to get kind of started in Horizon and how the various workstations work together. Okay, so we're back inside of my main player character's building here at Sanctuary, and I'm just going to go over kind of different workshops and what they do. Guess I should turn my UI back on, shouldn't I? That would probably help, wouldn't it? And go through some of this stuff. So there's a lot to go over, and I want to make sure you guys understand how this stuff works, because I was really confused when I first started this out. Oh, and also before I get started with that, I will not be going over my build in this video. I will be doing several videos in the future that will go over several different builds, including a generic VATS-based build, as well as a no VATS-based build, similar to what my character probably should have used at the beginning, but I didn't know any better, so I didn't get it. But I will go over some of the most important perks, that way you guys know about them. Okay, so first things first, this Robotics Lab. This is created in the regular crafting area. So go into your crafting area of your build menu here, and just look for the Robotics Lab. And that requires circuitry, copper, steel, some other stuff. It's not too bad to build. You can create this as soon as you have the materials for it, so as soon as you can make it, go ahead and make it, because you're going to need it. So, from the Robotics Lab, you can create all kinds of devices and materials that you'll need for other stuff in your workshop. It's a really, really important tool, and I can definitely see why the mod author of Horizon decided to make a whole new crafting station for this, because adding it to the existing ones would have been confusing and it would have just been too much. So you can create cargo bots, which are going to be useful, or going to be used quite often for crafting other workbenches and for crafting things that increase your carry weight. And I'll go into more on that later. You can also craft things like locksmith tools, explosive charges, and auto hackers, which will actually open terminals as well as chests and stuff for you that are locked, so very useful. Those pesky pool balls, the striped and solid ones, now actually have a purpose. If you collect an entire set, you can craft a set, and that set will be worth 100 caps each, and that's actually a lot of caps for Horizon, because caps are very, very valuable here. You can also craft supply kits, and these are massively useful because you can use them to fast travel with your caravans if you have that set up. So I'll be going over more on that later on. If you have Local Leader, you can craft these settler ration supply kits, which are even easier to craft, and that makes Local Leader even more appealing. Of course, one of the most useful parts of this is the Tools and Parts tab here. From here you can craft things like purifier filter modules as well as filters. Filters allow you to take clean bottles, dirty water, and a filter and create purified water. This is one of the only ways you can actually make it. These are also used to make water purifiers that will actually give you purified water. I'll talk more about that later. You'll also see down at the bottom here, there is this contracted work. So let's say you don't have a specific perk that you need to actually craft something. Many of the most important ones can actually be crafted here under the contracted work. So for example, the cargo bot, if you don't have the robotics expert perk, you could get this crafted for you using the contracted work. Of course, it has another cost in addition to the materials, which is the caps. The idea being that you're paying someone else to make that for you. So Robotics Lab is really the start. It's going to be your first goal when you make a new character. You're going to go out, you're going to find enough circuitry and stuff to actually create this thing, and that will be kind of the start of your journey in Horizon. From here, you'll make your cargo bot, and with your cargo bot, you can craft a second workbench, and that is this one right here, the Resource Management Workbench. And that one is actually not under crafting. That one is actually under resources, because it is a resource management workbench. So it's right here. As you can see, it requires one cargo bot as well as some other stuff, circuitry and stuff. Circuitry is a big deal in Horizon, guys. You're going to need a lot of circuitry. So you create this thing, and what it does is it allows you to manage your settlement resources from this workbench. So what do I mean by settlement resources? Let me activate this real quick and show you. So you can see here under my resource management that I have 7 total water purifiers, and I have 0 of lumber mills, stone yards, steel yards, and oil wells. I also have 66 of 70 fuel. So basically, if you want to produce, for example, purified water, you have to have not only a water purifier built, and a special kind of water purifier. It can't just be the standard crappy ones. You actually have to have the nice ones that require those filters. You need not only that, but you also need fuel to keep it running. So in my example, I have 7 water purifiers, and the number of purifiers will tell you how many purified water you will get per 24-hour cycle. So once per day, your inventory in this resource management thing will give you 7 purified water. That doesn't sound like a lot if you're used to regular survival mode, but it actually is quite a bit. You only use about 1 purified water per day, so really 7 is really good. Of course, you use purified water for other stuff too, so it is good to have more. So if you need fuel, you have to go here and add liquid fuel to it, and it will actually add it to it. You get liquid fuel through places you would expect, things like gas cans, oil cans, Mr. Handy Fuel. You can also craft it from various stuff as well. So it's not too difficult. I've found that I've never been low on fuel, really. I guess if you had enough water purifiers and stuff, you could, but personally, I've never had an issue with it. As well, this serves as a scrap storage, and so the cool thing about this scrap storage is that it is basically a shared stash between all of your settlements. Anywhere that you build one of these things in your settlements, you will have access to anything that's in here. For that reason, I keep things like all of my ammo in here, all of my weapons. I don't keep junk in here because, of course, you can use junk from wherever you are. But things like caps items, there are items in Horizon that are specifically made just to be sold to vendors, and they will have this cap icon on them. Items like that, I just keep them in here because I can just pull them out whenever I'm close to a vendor, whenever I want to go shopping at a vendor, and pull them out there and send them there. Things like that, things like armor, weapons, explosives. It's really handy to have an area where you can just dump everything into, and you can access it from any settlement on the map that has one of these built. And they're not difficult to build once you get into the game a bit. So that is the purpose of the Resource Management Workstation. Very, very helpful. Let's go over here to the command table. Actually, I believe I should have... Yes, I've finally gotten to 10 successful settlements. So the whole kind of point of Horizon is to sort of build this empire of settlements. And I was doing this before, like, this was a thing in Horizon. Like, when I played regular survival mode, I would just create this giant empire of settlements, and I'd go nuts with crops and trying to get as many settlements as I could. I know that, like, Oxhorn does the exact same thing. He just creates this massive empire of settlements and, like, takes over the entire Commonwealth. So with Horizon, you actually kind of have a quest and a purpose of doing that. So when you first build this command table here, which, by the way, let me show you real quick. It should be under the regular crafting section, but let me make sure that's correct. Okay, I was wrong. It's under resources, under miscellaneous. Some of them are under resources and miscellaneous, and some of them are under crafting. So command table, it requires some circuitry and copper. It's pretty easy to make. Doesn't require any perks or anything, just some basic stuff there. So anyways, when you make this, it gives you a quest called the Commonwealth United. And this is a chain quest where you are required to set up successful settlements. And a successful settlement requires 15 settlers with 70% happiness. So the first one only requires 1 settlement, the second chain in the quest requires 3, and then 6, and then 10, and then so on and so forth. Each unlock will actually give you more recipes, more cool recipes to do stuff. So let me go ahead. I finally got my 10th successful settlement just last night, I think. Let me go ahead and unlock this, and we'll hit Advanced Quest. So when you advance the quest, you'll gain a new rank of the Trailblazer Perk, and the Trailblazer Perk will unlock various things like recipes, new crafting stuff, and it will give you some cool stuff. Like in this case, it gave me 3 liquid fuel and a cargo bot. Not super overpowered or anything, but it's kind of cool. It also gives you a task you can have your settlers perform. I'll probably just go with the cargo bots, I think. That's fine. And now the next one is 10 of 15. I'm not sure how long this quest goes for. Probably all the way up to like 20 or something, or even higher. I'm not sure. But that is what the command table is for. Its sole purpose is for that quest, basically. So here is the Trailblazer rank 4 listed. I'm not sure what exactly the rank 4 gives you, but there are 3 more to go. So I would assume you can go pretty dang high, like 20 or 30 or 40 settlements or something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure how many are required for each additional rank, and I'm not sure what that gives you exactly, but it does give you perks and recipes and stuff, and they're always really cool surprises. As well, while I'm here, let me just show you the cargo bots thing. So this is a new thing that was just added. I have 8 cargo bots patrolling the vicinity, which are holding 800 pounds of equipment for me. So if you look at my character here, I actually have over 900 pounds of carry weight. You're going to say that's insane, but the idea is that you have all these cargo bots following you. To do that, you have to craft a cargo bot thing. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. So to craft those, you need a cargo bot station. Let me go ahead and make one of these. I don't actually have one at Sanctuary here, although I don't have much need for one anymore. But the idea is you can upgrade your Pip-Boy to have these cargo bot chips in them that will have a cargo bot following you around that will help you carry stuff. So to create those, I believe it's over at the Robotics Lab here. You go to, Robotics, and you would create one of these transmitter chips. And for example, this one requires Robotics Expert rank 3. So there are 3 of them for the Robotics Expert rank, so you get Robotics Expert rank 1 and 2 and 3. Those all give you 1 rank of that. Of course, it requires a lot of materials. It requires a cargo bot itself because it's going to be following you around. It requires a stealth boy because the cargo bot will be using a stealth boy to stealth behind you. You don't actually see them. And it requires a whole bunch of other stuff. The nuclear material and circuitry and stuff and gold, those are kind of hard to come by early on, so it's not easy to do. But the idea is you have these things following you around, and they're carrying some of your weight for you. Now, of course, that's not what's really happening. Your character is just actually carrying everything, but that's the idea, and it's a simplified way of implementing that so that you have more carry weight, which is a good thing. We've also got out here the command mailbox. This is another craftable, not really a workstation, but it's just a craftable item, though it is under crafting. But if you open this up, you can check to see if you have any new messages. And if you have a companion following you around, they will often send you stuff in your mailbox. Things like, for example, Dance once sent me a Guns and Bullets magazine, which counts for the ballistic perk, whatever it is, that allows you to craft ballistic ammo. Because all the ammo crafting requires various ranks of that magazine. I think Ada sent me some robotic parts or something. Anyway, your companions will send you stuff. It's really cool, and they send you notes too, which is really, really neat. I thought it was, and they're all entirely 100% lore friendly, which I just thought was so cool. So back here we've got the Weapons Lab. You can craft this really early on. This is just in your regular crafting section. I'm like 100% positive, but let me check to make sure so I don't end up telling you the wrong thing. Yes, here's the Weapons Lab. Very easy to make, doesn't require any circuitry, just some oil and basic stuff here. But you craft this, and you can craft ammo here, as well as weapons. And now, these weapons come from the official Horizon weapons pack, and these are all weapons that were available in either previous versions of Fallout, or there are specific companion weapons to make the companions do really good damage. For example, you've got the Victory here for Dance, which is a Gatling laser. I think the Deception is probably some kind of silenced pistol or something. And of course we got just some random stuff down here. There's just, weapons you can craft from previous games. None of them are really overpowered or anything. They're all pretty tame. In fact, the couple I've used, I've ended up just kind of shelving because they looked cool and they had neat sounds and stuff, but in practice they weren't that great. Of course, the main thing you'll be doing here is crafting ammunition. So there are many different types of new ammunition added to Horizon, things like incendiary ammo, cryo ammo. You can craft energy weapon cells, you can craft even fusion cores. In fact, I can craft some fusion cores right now. Let me make a couple of those. You can also break down ammo through here. So you can go to disassembly, and let's say, for example, I just wanted to break down some gamma rounds because I'm never going to use these gamma rounds. So why don't I go ahead and break those down and get energy cells from them? You can go ahead and do that. Notice that all of these require various perk levels on the right. That's the case with a lot of stuff in Horizon. It requires various perks to make stuff. So, for instance, to make 10mm rounds, you need Gun Nut as well as Ballistic Ammunition rank 2, which that would be the Guns and Bullets magazine. So you would need at least 2 of the Guns and Bullets magazines. It doesn't have to be specifically issue 1 and issue 2, but just has to be you've found 2 of them, period. But if you don't have those things, you can actually go to contracted work and you can have somebody else do it for you. This requires nothing perk-wise or magazine-wise, but it has an additional cost of 36 bottle caps. So in general, I think it's much, much better to actually get the perks and craft it yourself.
We showed them different.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. There is also the ZX1 Experimentation Lab, and this is actually a special lab for crafting weapons, and I'm trying to find a place to put it here because I don't really have a good area. Might have to move this thing. So, this allows you to actually craft new weapons, and I have an entire video dedicated to this, so I'm not going to go over it too much, but just know that you'll want to keep all the weapons that you pick up and reverse engineer them, and then you can craft versions of them here. And of course it requires various perks, magazines, bobbleheads, etc. So you want to collect all those things. Oh, and one last thing as far as these workshop items go. Under resources you can actually craft this Caravan Travel Hub. And I think I already have one over here. Let me go ahead and air the interface here. They're pretty easy to make. What this allows you to do is fast travel to your other settlements, and you can see here I can fast travel to any settlement that I'm allied to. You don't have to have one at the other end, you just have to have the settlement itself. To use this, you have to have at least 3 settlers at your current settlement, and you also have to have enough supplies to travel to the other settlement. It uses anywhere from 2 to 10 supplies, and you can craft supplies in the Robotics Lab. So for example, let's go in the supply menu here. You can either pay caps for supplies or you can actually craft supplies yourself. So in the Robotics Lab here under workshop items, you can craft supply kits. Now you can craft them one way, which is using purified water and various vegetables, or the easier way I've found is to craft them using purified water and settler rations. The purified water I generate automatically through my workbenches, through my workshops, because I have 7 water purifiers that I make sure they're fueled up every day. And the settler rations are generated automatically, and honestly, they make settler rations way quicker than I can actually use them up for this. Basically, as long as you have local leader rank 3, you're not going to have problems with keeping your supply lines kitted out so that you can actually fast travel. But it's really cool. It actually adds a lore-friendly way to fast travel between settlements. Of course, time does still pass whenever you get into here. You are technically riding along with your caravan. The only nice thing is that you don't actually have to walk there yourself. Of course, that is massively helpful whenever you're, oh, I don't know, say down at the castle, all the way down here, and someone says, oh, hey, you know, actually Sanctuary is under attack. Why don't you just walk your butt all the way back here across the entire map? Well, now you can just hop on your caravan, fast travel here, take care of it, fast travel back, and you're good to go. It's extremely helpful. It's one of the best things about this mod. I don't think it's overpowered or cheating or anything. It's just a better way of doing things. In terms of providing food and water for your settlers, you're going to want a lot of crops. In fact, you're going to want to set up pretty much every settlement with a nice assortment of crops like this. I need more carrots, or I did need more carrots, but now it's not as big of an issue because I can make settler rations into supply kits. But before, the previous version of Horizon, you couldn't do that. You had to have, just make them with the carrots and corn and potatoes recipe, which was kind of difficult to do. But when you harvest one of these, you see if any of these are ready for harvesting. I guess they're not. When you harvest one of these, you have basically a 1 in 3 chance of getting either a rotten vegetable, vegetable fibers, or a viable plant. So really, from all of this, I might get, if I'm lucky, maybe 15 to 20 of each of these plants. It's not very much. You know, normally you'd get 45 to 60 or whatever. However many I have here, I have quite a bit. I guess I have 60 food here, but yeah, you wouldn't get anywhere near that much in Horizon. So even though you only have, 19, 20 people here, you're going to want to have all the food you possibly can. You're going to want to have them harvesting it because adhesive is one of the hardest things to come by in Horizon. As well, let's talk about purified water for a second. So you can still make these crappy water pumps and stuff, and they do make regular dirty water, and that will actually work for your settlers. It's not a big deal for them to just use that. But if you want to make actual purified water for yourself, you're going to want to have these water purifiers set up. So each one of these counts for 1 purified water per day. It will produce 1 purified water for you per day. That will go into your resource scrap storage thing. So if you want purified water, you either have to make it by crafting it with dirty water and a water purifying filter, which uses up the filter, or you can create one of these and it will create it for you as long as you have fuel for it. One thing to note, as far as I know, the only ones that create actual purified water are the water purifier medium and water purifier large. This water purifier industrial, as far as I know, does not actually make purified water, even though it says it pumps water from deep underground and purifies it. It doesn't actually make purified water. Unless it says this purified water bottles are produced through the resource manager at the top, it will not give you purified water, okay? Just an FYI. But the rest of them do work for keeping your settlers happy. One thing I forgot to mention as far as food goes, this is something that I absolutely love about Horizon. Out throughout the world, you'll find things like carrot flowers, mute fruit blossoms, and stuff like that growing wild. With fertilizer and a bone and a mute fruit blossom, as well as the survivalist rank 1 perk, you can actually plant domesticated versions of the wild plants, and then any fruit that you get from these will of course be regular mute fruits. I just think that's so cool. I was always so disappointed that you couldn't do that in the main game, that you couldn't find like the wild corn out there and then plant it and domesticate it and make regular corn that's edible for actual humans. But you can with Horizon. It's one of the best features it has, in my opinion. I want to quickly mention these other resource producing things. You can create a lumber yard, stone yard, oil well, or steel yard, and those will produce what you would assume. Lumber yard produces lumber for wood for your use, for your settlements. Stone yard produces concrete, and oil well produces oil, and a steel yard produces steel. They are useful, but I have not found a need to really use them yet. It is good to note, though, that they do require Trailblazer rank 1, 2, and 3. And the oil well, once you have oil wells, you essentially kind of become self-sufficient, because you can create oil wells and steel yards, and from that oil and steel you can create liquid fuel, which is what is used to keep your purifiers running. So it all kind of, once you get to a certain point, it all kind of supports itself, and you don't have to actually go out and look for those things anymore. But, you know, you still probably will anyway. Alright guys, that's pretty much how all of the various workstations work in Horizon. I hope that was somewhat illuminating for some of you. It's difficult to get into it at first. It's kind of a lot to take in. Let me show you real quickly as well some of the perks that you might need to take in order to make all this work. So the major ones are Technologist is required for some of the perks, and Robotics Expert, at least rank 3, is required for many of the perks as well. The various other perks are required to craft certain stuff, and it all just kind of makes sense. As an example, basic weapons can be crafted at the ZX1 experimentation station with the Gun Nut perk. If you want to make energy-specific weapons, you're going to want this Science perk. If you want to craft certain chems, you're going to want the Chemist perk, so on and so forth. As far as perks that I feel like are 100% necessary for Horizon, I would say Technologist, which is 7 Perception, is required. Local Leader is absolutely required. That's 6 on Charisma. And Robotics Expert, which is rank 8 of Intelligence, is also required. So right off the bat there, when you're making your build in Horizon, you're going to need, you're probably going to want 7 in Perception, 6 in Charisma, and 8 in Intelligence. So that is going to account for a lot of your points right there. So I hope that was helpful, guys. I may go over some builds more in detail in the future here, but that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, make sure you like and subscribe. It helps me out so much, and I will see you in the wasteland.